What if the ground beneath California is shifting faster right now? What if overnight something changed deep below the surface? Miles under cities, highways, and millions of homes. Because that's exactly what seismic monitors detected. A sudden spike, not a Hollywood disaster scene, not a viral rumor, real data, real movement. And while it doesn't mean the big one is happening tomorrow, it does mean the San Andreas Fault is awake. What is the San Andreas Fault? To understand why this matters, you have to understand the fault itself. The San Andreas Fault isn't just a crack in the ground. It's a 800-mile long boundary, a fracture where two massive tectonic plates grind past each other, the Pacific Plate and the North American Plate. They don't glide smoothly. They stick, they lock, pressure builds silently for years, sometimes centuries, and then, without warning, they slip. When that slip happens violently, we call it an earthquake. And along this fault, that earthquake could be massive, magnitude 7.8, 8.0, or higher. This isn't theory, it's geology. 3. What an overnight spike actually means now. Let's be clear. When experts say there was a spike, they're not talking about buildings shaking at 3 a.m. They're talking about seismic signals, clusters of microquakes, increased tremor activity, shifts in strain measurements, sensors across California, managed by the United States Geological Survey, constantly measure ground motion down to fractions of a millimeter. And then something changed overnight. Increased seismic chatter. A cluster of small quakes along segments of the fault. Nothing catastrophic, but noticeable. To scientists, this matters because earthquakes often begin with patterns, foreshocks, creep events, tiny adjustments. Most of the time they mean nothing, but sometimes they're the warning tremors before something bigger. And that uncertainty, that's what keeps experts watching closely. 4. Historical context. California, before has felt. Either this before. This isn't California's first warning. In 1906, the 1906 San Francisco earthquake tore through Northern California. Magnitude 7.9. Fires burned for days. Over 3,000 people died. The city was devastated. Then came 1989. The 1989 Loma Prieta earthquake struck during the World Series. Freeways collapsed. 63 people lost their lives. Fast forward to 1994. The 1994 Northridge earthquake hit Los Angeles. Billions in damage. Entire neighborhoods shaken awake before dawn. Each event was a reminder. The San Andreas and its connected faults don't sleep forever. And here's what most people don't realize. The southern segment of the San Andreas hasn't experienced a major rupture since the late 1600s. That's more than 300 years of pressure building. Silently. Relentlessly. 5. What scientists are monitoring right now. This isn't guesswork, it's science. Across California, researchers use GPS stations to measure the plate movement, seismometers to detect tiny quakes, satellite radar to track ground deformation, strain meters buried deep underground. The California Institute of Technology and the USGS collaborate through advanced monitoring networks. They track millimeters of motion per year. And recently, some segments show increased microseismic activity. That does not mean a major quake is imminent, but it does indicate stress adjustments. Think of it like a tightly wound spring. Sometimes it releases pressure in tiny snaps. Sometimes it stores energy longer. Scientists are asking key questions. Is this harmless creep? Is it stress transfer from smaller faults? Or is pressure concentrating on a locked section? Right now, the data doesn't scream catastrophe, but it does demand attention. And attention is everything in earthquake science. 6. What could happen? If pressure continues building, here's the uncomfortable truth. If tectonic pressure continues building without release, eventually it will release. The big one isn't a myth. It's a statistical inevitability over long time scales. A major rupture on the southern San Andreas could produce violent shaking for 1 to 2 minutes, surface ruptures stretching hundreds of miles, severe infrastructure damage, power and water outages lasting weeks, economic losses in the hundreds of billions. Los Angeles, San Bernardino, Palm Springs, all near vulnerable segments. But here's where it gets alarming. Modern California is far more prepared than it was decades ago. Stronger building codes, retrofitted bridges, early warning systems like Shake Alert. Still, no infrastructure is invincible. The risk isn't apocalypse, it's disruption. Severe disruption. 7. Separating real risk from media hype. When headlines scream California doomed, that's not science. Earthquakes cannot be predicted to a specific day, or hour, or week. No credible scientist is claiming that. Spikes in seismic activity happen regularly. Most do not lead to major events. In fact, statistically, clusters of small quakes often relieve minor stress rather than build it. What makes this different is attention. The region involved, the historical quiet period of the Southern Fault. But fear-based speculation helps no one. Preparedness helps everyone. Scientists speak in probabilities, not panic. And right now, probability says California remains in a long-term high-risk zone. Not a guaranteed immediate disaster. There's a difference, and that difference matters. 8. Practical earthquake preparedness steps. If you live in California, here's what matters most. Not fear, preparation. First, secure your space. Anchor bookshelves, strap water heaters, latch cabinets. Second, build an emergency kit. At least 3 days of water, 1 gallon per person per day, non-perishable food, flashlights, batteries, first aid supplies, medications. Third, know what to do during shaking. Drop, cover, hold on. Get under a sturdy table. Protect your head and neck. Do not run outside during strong shaking. Most injuries happen from falling debris. Fourth, enable emergency alerts. Early warning systems can give you seconds. Seconds can mean turning off machinery, moving away from windows, protecting your children. And finally, have a communication plan. Know where to meet. Know how to check in. Because when networks are overwhelmed, planning matters. Prepared communities recover faster. Every time. 9. Emotional closing. A state on the edge. California lives with beauty, mountains, coastlines, innovation, dreams. But beneath it all, 2 tectonic plates are grinding. Relentless, invisible, unstoppable. The recent spike in activity is not a countdown clock. It's a reminder. Nature doesn't negotiate. It releases energy on its own terms. And while we cannot stop tectonic movement, we can prepare for it. We can strengthen homes. We can educate families. We can stay informed through credible sources. And that's the real story here. Not panic, not viral fear, but awareness. Because the difference between chaos and resilience is preparation. California may be on edge. But being on edge doesn't mean being powerless. It means paying attention. It means respecting the science. It means acting before the ground moves, not after. So stay informed. Follow updates from trusted scientific agencies. Check your emergency kit tonight. Have the conversation with your family. And if you found this breakdown helpful, subscribe for real science-based updates. Could we say no hype? No fear, just facts that matter. Because when the earth moves, the prepared stand stronger. Stay alert, stay ready, and stay grounded.